Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. It's being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I like. Crime dramas that I like. I said that weird. Whatever, it's staying in. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Banshee. So in this episode, we finally have Hood and Dawson kind of working closer together, and they ended up tracking down and finding out the identity of the killer. His name is Declan, who, interestingly enough, had a meeting with Brock. He was basically threatening Brock. He's like, you can't stop me. Because essentially he's a nut job and he thinks he has been chosen by Satan. That Satan's telling him to do all this stuff. That he's like, what makes you think you can stop me? I was chosen. I'm on a mission that you're an insignificant bug that you don't even realize the greater plan. And ended up saying that he's not going to kill Brock now. He's going to wait till his mission is complete and then he's going to kill Brock. So kind of live in fear till then type of situation. Which, going back, that situation with the girl did not go the way I thought it was. Like I figured she'd confront Brock, but that thing at the beginning, like, I was like, okay, what's she gonna do? I was like, oh god, she's gonna shoot Brock or something, isn't she? Carries the bag in there. I'm like, oh god, it's a bomb, isn't it? She's gonna blow up the place, and it ends up being like a can of gasoline. I'm like, whoa. I was like, and she's pouring it or something. I'm like, oh, and she lights herself on fire, basically saying that, like, the message from Declan, that basically he won't be able to ever stop, that Brock will never be able to stop him, type of thing. So we also had the confrontation between Kai and Carrie, because basically Cruz figured it out, and she came into Kai, and Kai had a little interesting conversation with her about Gordon. Like, the fact is that, I never held anything personal against Gordon, but it carries pretty much like, yeah, Gordon held something personal against you, though. And basically brought up the fact is that, that they should be careful in these situations because they still have things that they care about. And Carrie is like, yeah, they do. Because basically, like, I'm sure there's certain things you regret that you're doing. Or essentially, asking her, it's like, yeah, there must be things, you're still in your grief about what happened to Gordon. So, you're not in the right mind. So you must be, you must regret some of the stuff you've done. She's just like, no, I can't think of anything I regret. Basically, it was very interesting because I think to my recollection, this is the first time they've ever really had heavy interaction with each other. Like, obviously, their interactions have always been through Gordon, so any problem Kai's ever had, Carrie's been there, but it's always been, like, Gordon versus Kai. And so, it's very interesting that it turns out that, seeing them clash like this, because the fact of the matter is, who Carrie being who she is, she doesn't back down from Kai. Most people back down, even Brock, he doesn't take Kai's bullshit as much as other people does because he dislikes Kai, but it's like, and he doesn't trust him. He sees Kai for being the bad guy that he is, but it's like, he didn't back down. I mean, she didn't back down from him. And you see that little smug look on Cruz's face, which meant like some stuff was going on, especially later on in the episode when she dropped by, like basically brought her little team, that it basically ended with them like opening fire on her house. They ended up taking down almost everyone. The only person that got away was Cruz, but that fight between her and Carrie was like, yeah, she probably came in there thinking like, oh, Carrie be easy to take down. It's like, no, bitch, no, it ain't gonna be like that. Carrie is a scrapper, so she was able to kind of hold her own. And I was like, yo, you about to kill her? It's like, nope. And her and Job are shooting at her, but she got away. So, but it's like they know her face. She probably, the police are there after the whole thing is settled. So it's kind of like, okay, they know she was behind it. So where's she going to go? She can't go back to work. So she's probably going to lay low, but it's probably not going to work out in her favor. Because I guarantee you, because David was caught up in it, which David ended up killing that dude, which is like she's covered in blood and she's just like crying and stuff about that situation. I mean, first time you ever killed somebody, and it's just like, that's not something, easy, even for a teen, someone like, it's hard enough thing for anyone, but especially someone her age to deal with that. It's just traumatic, man. But just like, especially after that, I'm guaranteeing you, I bet you Hood as well as Carrie are going to come after Cruz hard, because they could have killed Dava, and I'm sure neither one of them appreciates the fact is. But I did love the fact that Job was there, and then basically Hood is thinking, it was like, thank you, because things could have ended differently if he had not given that gun to Dava too. Like, she'd probably be in a very bad way. I did like the fact is that That was like, wow, because Job didn't just shoot that guy, picked up the gun and like bashed his freaking face in. He says, I am tired of people trying to kill me, and walks out. And it's just like, he's not necessarily 100%, but Job is at least 85%. It's just like, because he even put on some of Carrie's clothes. I did like the interaction between him and David when she broke in, and it's just like, who are you? He's like, well, aren't you just like a fucked up brat? Because basically acting and being the way she is, she was very rebellious to begin with, but she's even more rebellious now, kind of. And then basically, are you talking about Anna or Carrie? He's like, basically, oh, which dad are you talking about that you've known? And essentially tells her to be grateful, because the fact is she has two parents who would die and who would kill for her, both Carrie as well as Hood. And it's like, that's more than a lot of people would ever get. We never really hear about Job's family, but he probably didn't really never have anybody, so at least to our recollection, he doesn't. Never did. And also, was this our first time ever seeing that? Like, the scars on his body. Like, you see, like, he's kind of got these marks on, like, they look like, that's probably not what they are, but they look like they could be burn marks or something on Job's body. I think that was, like, our first time seeing those. And it was a very interesting thing, and because me mentioning burning made me think about the fact is that, something, basically, there's that conversation between Brock and Kurt asking him if he was okay about her burning herself. He knows that has to, hit a sore spot. And it never crossed my mind during that, like, how Kurt would feel about it, because he was the one that put her out. And he was just kind of staring. It's like, that never came across my mind, because let's not forget what, like, Calvin and the others did to him. He had to be in, like, a recovery unit for that for, like, a good long while to recover from the serious burns he got on his chest. And it's like, it never even crossed my mind that, like, oh yeah, like, that would be kind of a sore spot for him, wouldn't it? There was also that situation with Calvin and his wife. Basically, his wife came to Kurt. Basically, I think I think he killed my dad. And even Brock was like, you know what? Because they can't stay with Kurt, because that's going to be the first place that Calvin looks for him, which he does in that episode, but they decided, Brock's like, they can stay at my place. So, Calvin won't be too stupid as to go as far as attacking at the sheriff's place. But it was very interesting when we had him, like, Calvin was there, obviously, like I said, he was there waiting for Kurt, and he's just like, it's like, where's my family? He's like, he figured out, you've been fucking my wife, haven't you? It's like, this is my family, you're messing with, Kurt. And he's like, you killed... He's like, where's Watts? And he's like, I killed him. And he's just basically like, you stay away from your family. Like, that basically you have 2 minutes. If I come back out here in 2 minutes, if you're still out here, you're gonna wish that I hadn't come back out. And he's walking away. He's like, you remember back in the day with our dad, and when he, Calvin saying this, said that, brought up like their dad, and the fact is that he take them to dog fights. And he's like, whatever happens in a dog fight when there's a tie, and basically his dad was saying there's no ties. Basically, it ends one way, and Calvin was like, you remember what that way was, right, Kurt? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he walked in his office, and you kind of see it in Calvin's eye. He's a little hurt, because it's like, which you can only assume it ends one way. There are no ties in a dog fight. It's kill or be killed. It's as simple as that. There is no walking away from the situation. So they're basically saying, in this situation, it's either one of them. Only one of them is going to walk away from this situation. My money's on Kurt, but you never know. Calvin does have the muscle to back him up. So it's like, I don't know. Because I don't feel like he's going to take Calvin down the lawful way. I think he's going to take Calvin down, like, you're dead way. So, I don't know. I mean, it can only end in that way. But it does seem like Calvin is a little hurt, because, I mean, it is his brother. They are brothers after all, but it seems like Kurt's more okay with killing Calvin than Calvin is about killing Kurt, per se, because remember, he said it at the beginning of the season. He was like, everything the burning, like, doing that to Kurt, he's like, yeah, I did that to save you, brother, because if I didn't, the others would have wanted you dead for, being a cop in this whole situation. And it's just like, oh, so you did your brother a favor, huh? So, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that situation turns out. We also had the Dawson and Hood situation, which I really liked. The fact is that Dawson kind of picked apart, kind of psychologically, and just looking at Hood kind of broke him down. Looking at him saying the fact is that she noticed things about him. The fact is that every time he comes into a room, he checks the corners, that he's always moving, that he kind of always want to burst through the wall rather than opening the door, trying to find a key to unlock the door, rather just burst the door down and burst through the wall, essentially. That basically he acts less like a cop and more like a criminal. And it's just like, oh, she's kind of got him figured out. But she's like, almost like you're trying to hide a secret. He's like, the reason why I'm always looking in the corner, he rebuttals. So it's like, yeah, she's kind of got him figured out. But he kind of snaps. It's like, the reason why I'm always looking in the corner, because there's always someone there gunning for me. And the reason why I'm always moving is because, like, basically every time he turns around, someone close to him is getting fucking killed, and it's just too much for him. And kind of snapped at her a little bit, and she was kind of like, sorry, I didn't mean to push your buttons like that. Which, granted, it's kind of, yeah, she was figuring him out, but I don't think Hood cares at this point. Because even if she did find out, I doubt she'd do anything about it. I doubt she'd rat him out. It's like, oh yeah, this guy who you thought was your sheriff who pretended to be Lucas Hood, it's not him. Maybe we'll actually finally find out Hood's real name. Because like I said, only 3 people know his real name currently that are alive. The 4th person being Siobhan, because he told her, a little bit before she died. So there are currently only 3 people that know his real name: Carrie, Job, and himself, obviously. But it's like, I don't know, not unless he's told someone else. I don't think he's ever told Deva, which is a very interesting thing, because apparently Deva did come visit him sometime in those 2 years. But it's like, we don't really know what was done and what was said, though. Kind of interesting. And it led to them kind of like, we can all kind of have that feeling it was going to go there. They're kind of getting hot and heavy and just about to get in the moment. And it's just like his thoughts, because the entire time Siobhan's running through his mind. And it's just like, I don't know whether it's because she reminds him of Siobhan, or is it just hit him, because it's like he can't let her go, because he legitimately fell in love with her. It's just like, it sucks, because he always ends up losing the women he loves. He lost Carrie, Anna. They kind of reconnect on some levels, but he still ended up losing her, never having that relationship that they had before. But him and Siobhan actually got to a good place, because she found out the truth about him and she accepted him, especially even learned his real name. I mean, it'd be interesting to find out like where they would have gone from there after everything. There was kind of like that. There was a part of the episode that was kind of like a what if. Was that, yeah, last season there was like a what if episode, like if he had not stayed in town, if Hood hadn't died, the real Hood had just stayed, and like him and Siobhan had crossed paths, and he just came to Banshee and then left afterwards, that things would have been different for everyone. That in that situation, she would still be alive, Emmett would have still been alive. There was just like a lot of things. So it does make you wonder, like, I was, like, really legitimately surprised. I was like, okay, getting hot and heavy, but they stopped. I was like, wow. And he was crying a little bit. She just, held him. I guess on some level she kind of knew what it was about. To me, the very ending part, which, speaking of Dawson, we did find out a little bit more about why she does drugs. It's because she was working undercover, and that's like, well, sometimes, like, you could either have to fuck the guys or do drugs to kind of get their trust. And she is basically like, sometimes she had to sadly do both. It's a habit that she's trying to kick, but doing the work that she does, especially this particular case, it's like sometimes she has to hit it to kind of calm her nerves, which is kind of like sad. I mean, it's just like, I guess that's, just the danger of being a cop, which, kind of brings up the fact is, because Hood brings up the fact is, oh, don't you have any judges that you can help out, kind of expedite this whole warrant situation? Well, expediting getting those files open. Basically, it's a file about Declan, because basically he was 25, but he hooked up with a 15-year-old. It was so it was a rape case, and basically we end up finding out that particular victim, because Dawson meets her later on in the episode, is the woman that's his current wife or girlfriend, or whatever the situation is with them. Basically, she's the one helping him out with this whole thing. Dawson was sitting there and they were talking, and you could tell Dawson was just like asking all these questions, but you can tell because Dawson's pretty damn sharp, dude, and she was figuring it out. It's like, yeah, she was lying. So, but at the very end of the episode, we have her captured by Declan. She's looking around, she sees her sister, and she's like, shit. And he basically walks up and is like, I heard you were looking for me. And it's like, dude, like beforehand, she did call Hood. It was like a voicemail, but I was like, I hope he gets that in time. I don't I don't want this to go down the way it's going down. I was like, I hope he's able to get that message in time. I feel like he's got a little time before Declan does anything to her. Not unless they screw us over and kill her off in the beginning of the episode. But I hope they don't. I don't want Dawson to die, dude. Just because, like, you know, her and Hood are kind of getting a thing. But it's also because I just like her in general. It's like, I've always got a special place in my heart for Eliza Dushku. So it's like, I don't want her character to die. Especially, it's like you add a new character to this final season. It's like, don't kill off the new character you're just introducing, which they've done that before. I did forget about that. They've done that in the past. Let's not forget about Jason. Jason was introduced and then pretty quickly killed. Wasn't it literally the episode he showed up in town he was killed? I mean, he pops up in like season 1's finale, but it's like literally the episode he pops up in season 2 is the same episode he died at the very end of it, right? He wasn't the only one, but that's just an example. So like I said, I'm praying on everything that he ends up getting to that message in time. And it also makes you wonder about the whole like Kai situation. Because, you know, the whole situation with the Brotherhood, because basically the Brotherhood is backing out and they're basically saying everything you own is now ours. And it's like, what about Watts? And then he puts Watts' head on top of Proctor's. He's like, huh? He's like, well, that's kind of surprising, like, you're doing that. He's like, and Calvin's kind of like, yeah, I figured you'd like that. And he ended up throwing Watts' head in the trash. So it's like, how's that situation going to play out? Like I said, let's not forget the cartel's going to be breathing down Proctor's neck soon enough. But it's like, to me, I felt like if Proctor wanted to, he could have snapped Calvin's neck just then. But it's like, I wonder how that's going to go down. Probably most likely with them getting a visit from Burton. I mean, especially it's like, you got that situation. Plus you got the fact is that it's multiple levels to everything, dude, because like Kai burned down Hood's house last time because of the whole situation with Rebecca. Knowing that Cruz, who's working for Proctor, because that whole thing was a hit set up by Proctor, meaning Hood is going to be coming after Proctor's ass, not just Cruz, but Proctor too. And it's just like, he's just got enemies on both fronts. He's got to deal with the Brotherhood, plus he's got to deal with Hood, who's going to definitely be coming after him now. So it's just, I can't wait to see where everything's going. Oh, the show just gets better and better, and it's just like, oh, the anticipation is rising because it's like with every new episode, we're counting down to those final episodes, and it's just like, oh, it's so good. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.